recording
Yeah,
has started.
All
Um,
right, cool.
all right. So first thing I'd kind of insert in there, just in case this helps at all in situations like that, where maybe you're just having bad games, unlucky games, is just to look to avoid tilt queuing, and that's just the term for it. That doesn't necessarily always imply tilting, but it's generally just the idea that if you start losing, you're going to keep losing, and you probably don't want to keep playing if you're going to keep losing, and specifically kind of in a day setting, sometimes even
Yeah.
within like a couple day setting. But if you set a limit for yourself, is really the easiest way to kind of overcome that situation. Is, let's say you're losing 2 games, whether it be for whatever reason. It could be that 2 or 3 games, right? It could be any reason that you're losing. It could be that you had some levers, some feeders. You could have had some bad teammates. You could have been tilted yourself. You could have been in a bad mood. You could have been tired. You could have just had a bad day. Yada yada yada. The list goes on. And in any of those cases, you probably don't want to keep playing, because it's going to just continue to not be great if you do. So
Yeah.
what you want to do is just take a short break. It could be anything from like 30 minutes to an hour. Come back into it, maybe try again, see if you're any better after you got that mental reset going. And then after you come back, if it's still not doing great, you still lose another game or two, then you probably want to just be done with the day. That means that you're never ever losing like over now in Overwatch 2 doesn't really, there's no SR per se, but
Yeah.
you're never ever losing over 100 SR in a day.
Mhm.
And then if you want to keep playing after that, go play in another role that you don't care as much about. Go play,
Yeah.
you can play it on alt account now in Overwatch 2. That might be slightly, I mean, not, yeah, it might be slightly, I guess it's like just as easy, but now it's less costly. um
Yeah.
and then yeah, or just play some quick play and chill out. But that'd just be my recommendation. Set that limit, that way you're not tilt queuing down. That makes sense.
Yeah. Totally.
All right, so then why don't we hop into a couple other things here. Firstly, just some Overwatch. So in case you haven't yet seen these, I just think these are some incredibly important settings to be taking a look at in Overwatch 2. Because they kind of are, a couple of them are a little buggy, some of them are a little iffy, like you probably don't want them enabled. And then there's also another
Mhm.
cool setting. So make sure that when you go into Overwatch, I'm not sure if you're in Overwatch currently or not. Says
Yeah.
you says
I
you're
have
playing.
mine open here.
Okay,
Oh,
then
I'm
you
just in the
then you
menu. Yeah.
then you can
I'm
kind of
open.
follow along too. So
Yeah.
first thing to take a look at is going to be your controls, and then
Hmm.
if you go from controls to controller. So right now there's actually a bug where your controller settings are leaking into your mouse aim.
Oh, really?
Yes, so the specifically aim smoothing. So this is by default on 100%. You're gonna want to take that and put that all the way down to 0, and then you'll kind of immediately just feel much better in your aiming. I kind of was surprised. I was like, I didn't even notice it until after I turned it off, and I was like, oh snap, I can aim now.
Oh,
um,
wow.
yeah. Then besides that, there's gonna be gameplay. Now this
Hmm.
one, I'm not sure. Honestly, I haven't. I just hear that it's supposedly supposed to be better, and I'm not sure. It's maybe a little bit more of like kind of that niche setting where you're not going to like immediately feel you're going up a whole rank from it. But I still might recommend it because it's by on paper it's the better setting. But also if it starts causing any FPS issues, then you can turn it off. Or
Okay.
whatever. But in gameplay, there's down in the bottom here. There's enable high precision mouse input. Probably want to turn that from off to on. That essentially is just if you're looking and aiming with your mouse, the game kind of has like this tick rate where it's detecting your mouse. So if you're turning
Mm.
in the game, I'm gonna go to like a training range here. If you're making a turn for like, let's say you're doing like a 180, and this is just off
Hmm.
the top of my head here. You're going, if you're making a turn of 180, right? It's going to detect so many ticks while you're turning. So let's say that's like, I don't know, like 30 ticks, 100 ticks. Um,
Hmm.
I'm not sure what enabling high mouse precision. with a high precision mouse input, that makes it so that the tick rates vastly increased. So you kind of
Okay.
have more available shots as you're making a turn, essentially. Um,
Okay.
essentially, I can send you a video if you're. I mean, if like the developer blog post on it if you wanted to take a look at it. But or you can
Okay.
just test it out, and if it doesn't mess with your game, keep it on. You know, that sort of thing.
All right.
Next thing, accessibility, all the way at the end here.
Mhm.
Motion. There is by default you should have camera shake on default, which is
Mhm.
stupid. Put it on reduced and HUD shake on off. This is going to make it so that you're not bouncing around. I think you can actually see it here when the bots shoot at you if you want to see it. Okay, so this is what it looks like with it on. My whole screen's gonna go.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of shakes your screen, and then when you turn it off, now you don't
Yeah.
really shake as much. So it's that's
Okay.
just make it easy for you to see things. Shoot. All right. So those are kind of the settings that, for the moment, that I've seen that are important. Are you gonna be interested in playing Kiriko at all?
I'll find my own path.
I have been in quick play. She's. Oh well, I guess when she comes up to ranked eventually, yeah. But I think for now I've been mostly just spamming Hannah Moira. But yeah,
Okay.
eventually.
Sounds good.
I've switched her. I've switched her primary fire to her secondary or to mouse click 2, and then
Okay.
her secondary to mouse click 1.
Interesting. All right. So, let's see here. So, if you're going to be playing Kiriko, important setting, and if you haven't already known this, like, you can change individual characters, and there's a bunch of
Yeah.
individual characters you want to mess around with. Kiriko actually has, I'd say, a pretty important one to change. Firstly, you probably want to lower the healing Afuda sensitivity. Are you familiar with what that does?
So it's like the lower the sense, the more accurate you have to be, right? To
Yeah.
be put her on.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it also means that you're gonna be able to pick people out much easier in crowds to heal, right?
Yeah. Okay, one
So
second here.
that's the same thing with like Ana Nana Boost and Zen Orbs as well.
Okay. I think I have that down.
Mm.
Healing of Fuda sensitivities that's 10%.
Oh, I would not put it at 10%. All right, put that up. So that means that you're gonna have to basically be aiming directly on top of somebody, which just is making it more unnecessarily difficult on yourself.
Okay.
So I would recommend if you have that on any other characters, like there's a lot of characters that have the same thing. Mercy, Zen, Ana, Zarya, Brig. Like if you have it on any of those characters, you don't want it that low. I would say at a minimum, you're probably wanting to go like to 50%. I would say usually 50 to 80 is where you're looking.
Okay.
And then if you
I just
have,
copied
yeah.
yours for now. So.
Yeah, sure. And then
Yeah.
that's gonna make it so that you're a bit more accurate in a crowd, but then it's also not like Kiriko's. It's not meant to be a skill shot, right? It's supposed to
Okay.
be like
Yeah.
easy to land. But that would essentially just make it a skill shot where you have to be directly aiming at them.
Okay.
All right. Healing, and then the other really important one here is healing. Toggle healing Afuda. So that means that if we have this on, watch what happens when I press left click. Watch how I can cancel it here, but if I just don't do anything, it'll just send all of them out, right? Because it's toggle. Watch what happens if I press left click and then try to right click here. So I press left click and then immediately right click and it. Oh, and then it goes after like 1 or 2, right? Now if I swap this over to off, oh, maybe it's actually the same. So it's actually okay. So you see the 2 come out, 3 come out,
Yeah.
but it's pretty sure it's faster than if it's on toggle. Let's see this again. Okay, actually, never mind. I guess last time I was
Maybe a
testing
small
this out.
difference.
What did we learn?
Yeah, last time I was testing this out, it actually was much worse. Okay, now it's not actually doing as bad. Okay, well, maybe correction, but I also am just a fan of non-toggle anyways. It's just a lot easier, in my opinion, to be on and off because I can just let go. So I can heal and then swap between things much more smoothly. But you know, it's that one's whatever. I actually had thought that that did more than it did. All right. Okay. And then I think that's about it for the moment. All right. Let's talk. You're good?
One question for you. You're
Mhm.
in controls under aim technique. Is there one that you should default to? Because I'm on dual zone, but I know
Okay.
there's
Are you
like
using?
exponential.
Are you currently using a controller?
No, I'm mouse and key.
Yeah. Okay. Then that shouldn't really apply to you. Hopefully.
Okay.
Unless that also when I've heard people talking about it leaking over, I've only heard them talk about aim smoothing, in
Okay.
like
Okay.
videos that I've watched on it. So, I wouldn't worry about that unless I go and see a video, or unless you see a video that is like, oh yeah, aim techniques coming through, which is kind of weird because dual zone is specifically for joysticks, so that wouldn't really make sense in my like to swap it over to a mouse.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Now I'm having fun.
So why don't we get into some of the actual, you know, like improvement mindset stuff, right, for the session. So firstly, I would say that it's a wonderful
That's the spot.
thing to already have the goal of improvement, because that is ultimately the hinge point of getting better. You can want to win games, but if you're just purely trying to win, you're not going to go anywhere. You need to be looking to improve. Through these sessions, I'm going to basically be giving you stuff to work on, giving you homework, where at the end of the sessions, we're going to go over the main points of the session, and then essentially the improvement process of really Overwatch, and then also really anything, is just as you're going through and playing your games, you're going to make sure that you're intensely focusing upon what you're trying to work on, right? And that means that you're not going to autopilot, you're not going to just play to play, and then, like I said before, you're not going to just purely play to win, but you're going to play to improve. And then what that actually looks like within your gameplay is that you're going to come into your games. I'm going to give you the main points. You're going to pick something out, and you're going to think to yourself, let's just pick something out, and let's say awareness. You're going to think to yourself, awareness, right? And then as you're giving yourself that constant stream of reminders to think about awareness, your awareness is going to be doing much better because you're actually looking around. Like if you're reminding yourself to look around and listen and keep your eyes open, you're probably going to do it a bit more often than you usually do. Now, that makes your awareness better. If you do that for a long enough period of time, it forms it as a positive habit. Once it forms as that habit, it's now no longer something you need to even be putting as much attention into, because it comes much more natural. And then you can work on something else to work on. But like I said before, sorry, not, I didn't say this before, but I would add something else in there, and don't try to do everything all at once, right? Because that'll become way too overwhelming for you, right? If you're trying to go over, you know, your gameplay all at the same time, or two major things at the exact same time. And then even if do one category of things, which I'll go over, you know, at some point, and then even if it's a big category, you might even want to break it up into like 1 to 3 smaller things within a category. Alright, that'll make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
Alright. Yeah, because that's just really important to just know what are you actually looking to do after I give you the info to work with. Besides that, the other thing to note within that is that you can work on multiple things if they're not connected, if they're specifically like timing wise, if they are not overlapping in your gameplay. So for example, if we're looking at a category such as awareness, knowing your surroundings, and positioning, knowing where to stand, both of those are constants through the whole game. There's not like a point in the game really where you don't need to be using one or the other. And therefore, if we tried to do both, it would just be way too much because they're both happening all the time. But if we mention like ult usage in there, like let's say ult usage and awareness, well, awareness is all the time, but ult usage, you're only ever thinking and using that like, what, 10 seconds every 2 minutes, roughly speaking, right? So that is something that you could focus on at the same time because they're so very distant from each other, so you could work on both of those. So just make sure you're not overlapping things. is really the big thing, and ult usage is like one of the ones that you can do with something else. Trying to think if there is another category. Ability usage, not as much, because that once again is something you are going to be using a lot throughout your game. But even especially if like you're doing like smaller things as well, like maybe like subcategory things, like maybe trying to think of what another example, because ult usage is usually my go-to example. Maybe if, like, for example, we're talking about mechanics, and we're talking about you focusing on your mechanics, and then you're specifically doing that within, like, outside of the game, right? Or in an FFA lobby, or in something along those lines, right? Where you're focusing on your mechanics. But the main thing is don't stack things, because then that doesn't really work out too well for you.
That gets too overloaded.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Moving on. What's the next thing I wanted to do after that? Snap. I had something in my head, and now I'm forgetting what the next thing I was gonna say for improvement. Oh yeah. Let's just talk about just like self-improvement, right? Just because that's kind of gonna be an important factor. Preferably, for you at the very least. I mean, it'd be fantastic for me business-wise, but you're not going to want to keep coming back to me for coaching years down the line, I would assume. Hopefully at that point,
Overwatch 5's out.
Yeah, Overwatch 5's out. Hopefully you're going to be a bit more self-sufficient, where you know how to work and coach yourself, and know how to improve yourself, and that's kind of one of the goals of this, is that I'm giving you kind of that jump start, and then you can go and do stuff yourself. Now, you know, don't feel like that needs to be, like, you need to jump out of the nest at session 8. I mean, that's up to you. But that's gonna be where, like, kind of I'm trying to prepare you to go in that direction, where you can go off on your own, do your own thing, and leave that nest eventually down the road. Though feel free to stick around, I like money. So, in any case, how do you self-improve, right? What's that process look like when it comes to self-improvement? The main thing is you're looking to do essentially what I'm doing in when I coach other people, and that is that you're looking to identify your own mistakes, right? Because when it comes to improvement, right, you can improve in kind of two main ways. You improve by identifying mistakes that you can fix, you know, things that you're doing bad, and you can identify places that you can be doing better, which is kind of just the same thing, because once again, like, if you could be doing it better, then it's kind of like a mistake, right? But it's not, yeah, it's whatever. It's the main thing is just you're looking for what are you doing wrong, what could you be doing better, right? And what that looks like is within your game, you're going to look to identify it. You're going to maybe get a little bit better at that as we go along and you see me doing it. But just for example, a very easy one is deaths, right? And that's something that, like, you know, I'll look at when I see you die in your game, is as you die, I'll look at your death and I'll go, okay, why did he die? Because everyone knows deaths are bad, right? Deaths are bad for a plethora of reasons. And if you're dying and it's something you could not, where you could have not died, then we're going to look to try to fix that, and that way you're able to participate in your game a lot more. So you can think through, like, okay, why am I dying? What even are the reasons why people die in the first place, right? Like, what are the common ones? I mean, I'll answer, I guess, you know, I'll ask that as a question. What are the common reasons why people die?
I'd probably say over aggressiveness.
Yep.
I'd probably say lack of, like, awareness, like if you get flanked and you're not paying attention to sound cues.
Correct.
Probably say, like, just misplay mechanically, like maybe you take a duel and you just lose due to some kind of mechanics. Kind of, I would say those are kind of, at least from my perspective, because that's usually what I die for. So.
Okay. So other ones I'd add in there is poor positioning. Like, if you are just standing smack dab here, and then 6 people start shooting at you, it's like, where the heck are you gonna run, right? Yeah. And that's maybe something we can discuss when we get around to your gameplay. But that's going to be another major one usually with people's gameplay. Also, misuse of abilities. Like, let's say you're in that 1v1 duel and you're on Kiriko and then you just forget to teleport away, or you have like something like that, or a bunch of different characters have ways that you can misuse them. Either use them too early, use them too late, etc. Miss them. Misuse of abilities can get you killed. And then another minor one would be like poor movement. If you're just walking in a straight line or standing still. Those things, right? But you got like, I probably say like half of them there. And you want to think through those and think, okay, now did I break any of those rules in that death? And you can do that while you're playing. That's actually how I improved at this game. I'm not sure if you looked at like how much of my bio you looked at, but I actually started in silver too. Like that's or like, I guess I said 2. You started in bronze, but I started in silver when I first started playing the game in season 3. And then like I just climbed. I self-improved. Most of this was self-improvement. I didn't get like official coaching from anybody until I had already hit my peak in the game, and that was like 4468. So it's very possible to self-improve and to look at your own gameplay and to fix things you're doing wrong. And then oftentimes I'd also just do that while I'm playing. It's not a necessity that you do your own VOD reviews. Now, if you want to do VOD reviews, that'd be great too. That's a good way to figure out what you're doing wrong, especially if you can't really think while you're playing, that sort of thing. Or if you're trying to work on, the things I've given you or something like that. But as you're playing, you can be thinking to yourself, okay, I just died, and now you have 20 seconds where you're walking back. That's 20 seconds where you can be thinking, what could I have done differently, right? So you've identified the mistake, right? Why did I die? Okay, maybe I was out in the open, right? You identify them, and then sometimes it can be multiple reasons, right? Touching on a few different areas. I was out in the open and I didn't see the Genji. Once you've identified that, okay, what could I have done better, right? What's the solution to the mistake? How can I fix it? And then that's going to be something like, okay, I could have been closer to cover so I can actually use cover. I should have been listening and paying attention for the Genji, or maybe I need to turn my sound up and mess around with my settings. And that's going to be just the process of identifying what you're doing wrong, and you can do that in a lot of different areas, right? I use my ult, okay? I use my ult, and the ult goes the whole duration and nothing dies. Obviously something went wrong, right? That's not a successful ultimate if you use your ult and, nothing happens with it. So you need to be thinking to yourself, okay, what was the problem there, right? Oh, they were all, like, around the corner or right here, and they could have run away easily, right? That sort of idea, and you're identifying, okay, that was obviously a mistake. Didn't go great. What could I have done better, right? You use, let's say your whole team dies in front of you and you have your E, right, as Kiriko, right? You're going to be thinking, okay, well, obviously I could have saved them, right? I need to make sure and then you can look for repetitive things, right? That's what I'm going to be looking for when I coach you, is like, what are the things that keep happening over and over again? Because those are going to be the mistakes that matter, not the ones that you make once in every 10 games, right? If you keep missing, you keep forgetting to use your E, you have your trigger finger ready on throwing it on your teammates, ready to give them the cleanse and the immortality. Yes, that sort of concept. So that all makes sense in terms of self-improvement.
Yep.
All right. Other things is I might recommend, like, obviously you're gonna have me for just specific to you things for the next, however many weeks. But also at the same time, you can also take a look at, like, different people on, like, YouTube and watch their coaching guides, tips, tricks, right? Learn different ways to use abilities. I'd say, like, CarQ is a good one for, like, the tips and tricks stuff, and then maybe even some of the guides. Other resources that you can look at would be, like, your Overwatch does some guides. I know, not that I've used them a ton, but Silosa I know is another popular one. And I know he's still current as well. IOStux is like another coach that does YouTubing stuff. I know Natter does YouTubing stuff. Don't feel like you have to memorize all these names. You can go back in the recording if you're interested. But if you're interested in just doing more on your own time, that's some video, like maybe some YouTube channels to be watching for that sort of content, coaching for people. Just know that not everything that they say is going to be immediately applicable to you. So think, actually think through what are they saying here that's actually that I'm not doing right? Right? Because if you just go in and you're just thinking, okay, everything that they say I need to work on, well, then you might be working on things that you're already, half decent at. Right? Streamers, if you like watching streamers, like, watch the good ones, right? Watch the ones that are going to, if you're looking to use it intellectually, watch the good ones, the top of 100 ones, the pro ones, right? Those guys are going to be able to show you what good gameplay looks like. Watch ones that actually, apply to what characters you play, right? Once again, analyze. Don't just watch and zone out unless you're doing it for fun. If you're doing it to learn something, then think through what are they doing differently that I don't do, right? And then once again, don't just look at their gameplay. Focus in on something intently. So think maybe something along the lines of, okay, my ability usage sucks. That's what I need to work on. I'm going to stare at their abilities and how they use their abilities every time they use their abilities, and what do they do differently that I don't do, right? Not just, oh, they used it better, but how did they use it better, right? They, maybe they're just more ready to swift strike, or what's this ability called? I can't remember. F1. It's swift step. There we go. Maybe they're just more available and ready to swift step at a moment's notice. Maybe they're more aware of their teammates, where they're at, so that they can swift step away, right, at a moment's notice. Maybe they're not maybe you're wasting it when it's not needed. Maybe they're, which situations are they swift stepping in? Are they using it aggro? Are they using it defensively? How often are they doing both? In which situations are they doing both? That sort of thing. And then, like I said earlier as well, you can do self-thought reviews as well. That would not be too shabby. I never had the patience for those, but if you want to, that would not be a bad idea at all. Though, maybe that would be best, like, after we're done doing session, like, after we've concluded sessions, because at the moment, you kind of have me to give you homework. You don't need yourself to give yourself more homework.
I don't even know homework to give myself right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. All right. Any questions so far?
Everything's good so far.
All right. Trying to think through. If you, I guess I'll prescribe aim stuff if aim stuff seems apparent, because it's not always an issue with people. Consistency is a key factor. If you're constantly trying to catch up with your rust, then you're not going to be going anywhere. So, your aim will get rusty like a day after you stop playing, if you go like a day without playing, just because it's muscle memory, and the muscle memory will start to fade and wane. And if you're constantly fighting against rust, then you're gonna be just stopping yourself from going backwards, not actually going forwards. So my recommendation would be, even if you don't got any time to play in the day, 10 minutes, run around in a quick free, try hard free for all. 10 minutes, warm up your aim, and that's just going to keep that going smooth. And then also just consistency. It would be better that you play, 1 hour every day of the week than 7 hours on a Saturday, right? It's just going to be better for you because it keeps you much more consistent, and stops you from just fighting against rust, which you'd be doing that entire Saturday because you just went a week without playing. Right. Think starting to get to the point. If I remember anything else about improvement, I'll bring it up. But I'm starting to reach the point where I'm not having as many things to say on it. So why don't we go and take a look at your gameplay? Unless you had anything else to talk about, which would also be fine.
I would. Let me think. I think we're good to review for now. If anything comes up, I'll flag it.
All right. Which one would you like to go over out of the two that you gave?
Yeah, I found it funny because I guess all the issues with some of the Overwatch, like the bugs, the clients, things were crashing. I was actually like recording matches via OBS, and then I was like, wait a minute. I have the pin. I could just use the pin and give you the pin, but what happened was like a lot of the. I guess it only saves the top 4 competitive matches now, instead of like before. So
The top four, no. I mean, if you look at
No. What?
replays, it saves most recent 10 games. So
Okay. Hold.
you're
Uh,
yes, if you're looking at my stream, it saves your most recent 10 games. If you're trying to get something to stick, you click on it and you click pin, and then that
mm,
will save it until the next patch. If you look at the top left, it says resets every patch.
uh,
So
okay.
if a patch happens, then it'll disappear. Um, Not like the tiny little updates that they've been giving, but a little bit more of the major updates. That's when they'll add those in. But yep. Just look to pin them. We don't have to be doing. I guess going forwards, we don't have to be doing replays every single time. Maybe we won't do replays every single time. Get some live games in. I'd probably say replays will do most of the time, and then we'll get some live in just to give you some hands-on in your games. But replays is where we're going to be getting a little bit more info and
Yeah.
in-depth info.
Okay. So yeah, I would say we could go either one. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Like Midtown was a draw. But I would say with Midtown specifically, it was like at the very end, it was more like cheese that won us the draw. If that
Mm,
makes sense.
yeah.
And Junkertown was a defeat, and that was in both those matches. I went from like Anna to Moira a lot of times back and forth
Hmm.
because I was having a hard time dealing with a lot of like Sombras in the flank or like
Yeah.
getting dove or just being
Okay.
in like weird situations. So either one
Yeah.
is fine.
All right. Sounds good. I'll just put it in Junkertown then. All right. All right. New system. I'm clicking. Okay. Apparently I can't double click it anymore. I have to click view. Why did it say entering practice range? All right.
Ready for battle.
Oh, this all looks different as well. All right.
Yeah, it's that first time I clicked on like the replay view was yesterday. And I was a little confused.
How come I can't drag? Uh, hello?
5, 4.
B drag. Okay. Well, it won't let me adjust the time skips or anything else. That must be a bug. Thanks, Overwatch. Um, okay. Well, that's unfortunate. Usually I do like 5 seconds, but yeah, now we're gonna be skipping around by 20 seconds. All right. Let's see. What's your name again?
The butcher.
The Butcher. All right. So, one more thing I was gonna note. Right, unlucky games. Right now, if Overwatch 2, you're probably gonna have a few more unlucky games than per usual. People DCing,
Oh yeah.
possibly you DCing. I haven't DC'd at all, so that's great.
You see like 5 times already,
Oh no.
unfortunately.
All right. If you're seeing that often, might be a good idea to like I don't know keep till if you want. It depends on if you care. How much you care about it. If you're DCing that
Yeah.
often, might want to stick to quick play until they start to get servers under control, and then maybe if you go a day or two
Mhm.
without DCing, you hop back into comp, that sort of thing. I have DC'd outside of comp, like walling queues and stuff. I've never DC'd in comp. Watch for the. I'm not sure if they actually remove like your MMR if you um
You see?
DC when specifically like when there's patches come around, but just make sure you're not playing when you know there's scheduled maintenance. So keep an eye on that.
Okay.
Because they kind of announce it in like the launcher
Okay.
when it's gonna close out. So just make sure you don't hop into a comp game right before that.
Mhm.
Besides that, just try to keep a good attitude about it. Just keep like note when it comes to DCs, levers, throwers, smurfs, all of it essentially is like just it doesn't matter. Like it might be annoying in the short term, but it's not going to be something that really leaves a lasting impact in the long term. Because if you think through it,
Yeah.
the enemy team gets pretty much on average the same amount of those as your team does, right?
Yeah.
Because yeah, they're gonna get just as
No,
many DCs, just as many levers, just as many throwers. maybe a few,
Yeah.
like in fact, maybe a few more. If you're not leaving and throwing, then they have a few more leavers, a few more throwers. They might have a few more Smurfs, but Smurfing is hopefully going to be a bit harder now because of some of the things that they put implemented.
Yeah, I would say like the biggest thing when I started playing support, I feel like I got more tilted only because when you're behind everyone, you can see a lot more. Like it's a different perspective
Yep.
than when I was playing like other roles. And sometimes I just look at stuff and I'm like, why?
Yep.
Like why? Like the whole team's dead. Why are you running into 5 people and throwing out visor? Like why?
Yeah, I know, and
Like it's
honestly,
just like why?
people can be really stupid, but the expect like just at this point, right? You've been playing since season 2, so
Yeah,
you know as
yeah,
good as much as I do that people are stupid and they're gonna keep doing it. You're not gonna be able to fix people's gameplay in one game, but the
I
person that
guess I
you
used to
can
be like that
change,
too. So
yeah, but the person you can change is yourself, right? And that's gonna be over the course
yeah,
of multiple games. So don't put your focus on random people in your games. Put the focus on yourself. That's also gonna help
yeah,
you stop you from tilting. So yeah, just keep it as a self focus in terms of gameplay, right? So
yeah.
yep, why don't we go ahead and get started here, and then I will just be a minute or so. I'm looking for something to talk about.
Okay, cool.
Yep. And then question: did you also have your nano boosts on 10% as well, like the sensitivity?
Uh, Well, we go. I don't think so. I think it was like, unless like the settings changed since Overwatch 2. If it
No, they
carried over
shouldn't.
everything, then yeah, I think I was at like 80% or
Okay.
something.
Yeah,
Might be high.
you might be fine to lower that a little bit. Depends on how confident you are in your aim. With
Okay.
it, but that'll stop people from catching nano when you don't want it to.
Hmm. Okay.
All right. Walking out of spawn. Oh, it did. It's 20 seconds. Okay, I'm gonna have to use this instead of that. All right. We're walking out of spawn. Genji's critical, and then we turn to heal the Torbjorn. Just gotta pay attention to who's in danger, who's low. Probably wanna, like, if he's running around that corner, chuck a nade at the floor, get him healed up. Because we kind of look away from the Genji when he's critical. Wanna just watch his health bar. Okay, already noticing something with your aim, which this is maybe something that like is subconscious. So once again, like maybe if you're going into one of your own replays and looking at your own games, this is maybe something you could notice with fresh eyes. But every time we're aiming, notice how we're going to look down and then look up, and then look down and then look up, and then look down and then look up. Did I go forwards? How did I go forwards there? Okay. So down, oh, here it is. Down, looking at the
Oh
floor,
yeah.
going up. Right? Down, looking at the floor, going up. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Right? So that's just going to be unnecessary movement. The more unnecessary movement you're adding into your aim, the less consistent it will be because you're just needing to travel more space unnecessarily. And then also it's
Mhm.
going to send some of your shots into the floor maybe as well. So just keep it consistently at body level where other people are going to be. You don't have to aim at head level as Ana. Other characters you do who can hit headshots, you want to aim head level. But Ana, aim body level, right? Aim at their chest. That way you're not hitting shots into the floor. That way they're not having to do like this adjust upwards, which can just take more time and also just be less consistent in terms of aim. Okay, notice as well, like just there, like on how we're doing it again. Just it's to the up and down. All right, we need a tank to walk out.
Yeah, I think at this point I said, "Can we walk forward, please?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good nade on the Reinhardt. We snuck it through. He's low HP. Okay, Torbjorn gets rolled. Oh, we can maybe go over a couple like nade things. I'm gonna hold on to that one that I just had there. Oh, Genji dies again. Not sure if we're like trying to find him or not. wonder if restarting my game would help with the spectator overlay thing, but it's not a major deal. Alright, so Genji here, he is low. We look at him, we start shooting at him, we go for the sleep. Not a major priority when Genji is low. I'd maybe hold on to it for a second just so we can heal him. And then we kind of look over and we're like, oh, where did Genji go? Right?
Yeah.
So this would be Genji dies because of an awareness thing, same as his last death as well. So when we're letting, once again, we were talking about this before, when teammates die right next to us and we could have healed them, that is a mistake on the support side, right?
Okay.
That's something that we could have done better. And in this case, what could we have done better? We could have been more aware. And we've already talked a little bit. We've talked about the improvement of just paying attention more, because that's what awareness is, and intensely focusing on paying attention. But maybe we'll also go over a couple other things when it comes to awareness as we go through. Make sure you're watching specifically health bars, because maybe sometimes we're not putting urgency on critical HP as much as we should. Okay, nice shot. Nice sleep. Give your team time to react to it, though. You as Ana cannot. So it's gonna be more difficult for you to solo take out an Ashe or Sojourn, but maybe it's possible that we saw the Hanzo coming, so we're trying to rush it a little bit, which is that would be a little bit more fair. If we saw Hanzo. So maybe we saw him turn the corner, and then we're trying to just do this fast. But also just if you see him walk around that corner, because then he can't see you, right? We're standing kind of in his face here when we could. Why is my mouse on the screen? Game, you're not letting what? Why can I not see? It's not letting me turn my camera. Maximum free cam. What? Okay. Okay.
I don't know. Did you want to restart it, or
I can try restarting my game, see if that fixes anything, but I can't. Like it. You see what I'm saying? As I can't move my screen around here. All right. Well, let me try restarting real quick. See if that fixes anything.
Should be a little bit better now. Like when I logged in this morning, I didn't have to like wait or anything.
Yeah, same. So they're starting to fix servers a little bit.
Yeah, it's gonna say it's a botched release, but I'm glad they addressed it quick, because there's a lot of game developers that would just leave it for a long time like this before things get better.
Yeah, botched release, but also at the same time, I'm loving the gameplay so far.
It's very different. It seems like I guess from my experience with Overwatch 1, you have a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot more autonomy in how you want to play Overwatch 2, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe at a higher level it's different, but at least like where I am.
I think it's high level too. It's a lot more urgency in your gameplay, a lot more you're able to do more by yourself. And that's just the nature of how it'll work when I have to restream here. That's just the nature of how it'll work when you remove one character, is that now every other character does more. Right?
Yeah.
And then also other things going into that as well. Alright, let's see if this fixes any of those bugs.
Welcome to
I just feel for tank players now with these long queue times.
Yeah,
Oh well.
Alright, I still cannot adjust it, but that's fine. Can I move my camera? No, I cannot. Alright, well, that is...
Probably bugged then, yeah.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Just know I'm gonna have to, like, awkwardly move around so I can see what's going on. Alright. Alright, so here we can just walk to the right side here, and then that way we don't have to have Hanzo staring at us. Nice, good duel. You took out 2 DPS by yourself, kind of pog. Okay.
Yeah, I've been trying to focus more damage and not just be like a heal bot. So
yeah, I mean that's very fair. Just gotta, it's damage comes and healing's not needed. That's the main thing to keep in mind. That was very fine situation to do it. Here, the other thing to keep in mind is healing is not needed when healing is not needed, and that gets into overhealing. So overhealing comes when people are full HP or very, very close to full HP, and you're healing them, and it's not doing anything. It's wasting your time because you're shooting at people and accomplishing nothing. And two, you're also wasting your ammo, so you could even potentially force yourself to reload or be low ammo when people do need healing. So here we'll notice how Riss is full HP, heal shot, right? Then we do it again. Okay. Torb is Bap is full, Torb is like 10 HP down. Okay, and you have to think to yourself, okay, maybe if you're in between a fight and there's nothing else to do, sure, but is 10 HP really the biggest deal in a fight when you could be repositioning, looking to use your abilities, looking to damage people, looking to use your ultimate, looking to be aware of your surroundings, looking to heal somebody else who needs it, right? That sort of thing, or even reloading, right? There's a lot of other things that come in when you're overhealing, right? And then here we do a couple more overheal shots. Rissa's full HP, right? Torb's full HP, right? So that's just all overhealing. And typically, it depends on how frequently it's done. Sometimes it's done more than others. Ana players, I would say, usually aren't like the most terrible with it. But who knows? I haven't seen the rest of your game. Just watch that and do other things instead. Once again, it comes back to make sure you're watching health bars, because that seems to be where we're going wrong, because we're healing people when they don't need it and then not healing people when they do need it. Okay, overheal shot. Nice sleep, great nade. Maybe give your teammates like half a second to break immortality. Once again, don't feel like you need to rush the nade every time, but I mean, honestly I think it's gonna be fine. But notice how like that just means that immortality stays up. Reinhardt gets to not die for longer. So give your team time. Okay.
Get in there.
All right. So good nade. Torbolts. This gets into how do you tell whether or not you've won or lost a fight? And the answer to that is primarily kill feed, right? Top right corner of your screen, watching that. As kill feed will tell you when you're up or down people, and that's the kind of the basics of knowing whether or not you're winning or losing. There's other things that go into it as well, but we can go into that down the line. We have tons of time too. But basics is if you are up or down, and Overwatch 2 kind of changes this, so I'm still kind of maybe a little bit on the fence with these numbers, but I would say if you're up or down, 1 to 2 people, that is an advantage or a disadvantage, and it can be a heavier disadvantage or advantage if it's 2 people, right? But 1 to 2, advantage or disadvantage, right? So at that point, it's not won or lost, but you want to play either more aggro or more passive, right? More aggro if you're winning, more passive if you're losing, right? Now, if you are up or down 2 to 3 people, that is going to be a won or a lost fight. In those cases, if you've won, you get super aggro. If you've lost, you get out if you can. If you can't, you let them kill you, and this stops you from staggering yourself. And then in either case, if you've won or lost a fight, you don't use ults, because if you've won the fight, then it's overkill. It's just wasting it, where it's not going to do it's not going to get value, it's not going to do anything, because you already won. If you've lost the fight, then it's not going to fix the fact that you lost the fight. It's just going to once again waste it. So in this situation, what is currently our let me just take a look at this. What's currently the fight looking like at the moment?
So we're obviously up. They have 3 down, so 2 people alive.
Currently, actually, as of the time that you had nanoed, I think it's 2 people live, but then also they had 1 person who's low. Right now, it's actually a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 v 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why does this show that you have 6 people? What?
I see 5 on my screen.
Including you. There's Ana,
1,
Genji,
2, 3, 4.
Torb,
Oh
Bap.
no! So the
Torb.
where?
Oh, why is there 2
Yeah,
Torbs? What? They're Torbjorn turned red. Or wait.
Yes.
Oh, there's a turret.
But
That's his turret. That's weird. Okay.
uh,
Okay. The UI is a little bit wacky. Also, I'd say these are a little bit too visible. I feel like I'm getting confused over with those. All right. In any case, it's a currently a 5. It's a 5v1 right now.
mhm.
Nano's not needed, right? So probably don't want to be using it. All right. We got 3 minutes left, so let's exit out here. We don't really we only went over like a couple minutes of gameplay, so you don't really have too much homework. Just think through some of the things we talked about on those, and just work on it until our next session. Um, work on just your overhealing. Primary thing I'd say is pay attention to your teammates and think through when do they need healing, when do they not need healing. That's probably the biggest thing I saw, in that 10-20 minutes. Think through awareness.
Okay.
Now we got 3 minutes left. Let's talk through future sessions. Now it's up to you with how much you want to stack these. The next because we didn't really even go over much gameplay at all, we can go over we can do the next session whenever you want. If you want to give it a couple days, if you want to do it now, or not now, but like if you want to do it like in 2 days, if you want to do it in half a week, if you want to do it in a week, doesn't matter. Just because we didn't really even go over a ton of gameplay anyways. Um, if you and then after that point, we can do like the over on Medify. It says twice a week. If you want to do that, that's fine. But also, if you want to slow that out and maybe do like once a week, I wouldn't have an issue with it. I think like we're gonna go over enough stuff to where 1 week, 1 hour is all you're gonna need for a week. Because you're going to want to be using that the rest of that time to practice and work on things. But that's up to
Mhm.
you. Either way, I don't think it's gonna be a waste. It's just yeah, like I said, up to you and whatnot, and how you want to approach that. Um, yeah, so you can. I think after this session, it's gonna let you schedule the next one over on Medify. Yep. Send session summary. All right. So it's gonna let you do that next one over Medify whenever. Trying to think if there's anything else. Did you have any questions about anything we discussed?
Um, I would say not so much right now. I think as we progress would be more, but for now, like I think it's more like what you talked about, the awareness. Not I as soon as you pointed out with the aiming down and aiming up, it's like I saw it a lot more. So just I'll work
Mm.
on like the small things you flagged. But
Yep.
oh, yeah,
And yeah. All right. Well,
all right.
I think this is a pretty good first session getting you going. We'll go over more things as we go along. Um, yeah, I mean, also another, I guess, small thing I'd say is with your goals, don't be too overly ambitious with you can have lofty long-term goals, but I wouldn't, when it comes to the short term, don't be like, I'm going to be, masters within the season or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Just because sometimes that might not be as realistic to live up to. Look to set yourself
Mhm.
some smaller short-term goals, right? Have you placed yet in Overwatch 2?
Yeah, I've placed. Yeah.
You haven't?
No, I
You
have.
have?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
I
what would you
one
place?
straight seven, but it put me bronze something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
So
it's placing everybody lower. If you it from what I saw, what did you end last season at?
oh, for support, I ended it. I think like mid silver
Mid silver,
ish,
yeah.
but
So
yeah.
with everybody from what I've been seeing so far, is if you have a decent win rate, while you're playing, you place one rank below where you were last season. From what I've been seeing, like that's what happened with both my DPS and tank on one of my accounts. Is
Mhm.
I won most of my games. I got placed one rank below. You won most of your games. You were silver. Now you place one rank below in bronze. So don't look at that as though it's just the in-game numbers. It's not
Yeah.
it's not necessarily meaning anything because all of the silver players from Overwatch 1 are now bronze 2, so you're not any worse than you were before. especially if
Oh
you
yeah.
Yeah, especially if you won your 7 games, hopefully you'll be able to, climb back up.
Oh, I've pretty. I would say
Mhm.
like I don't know the exact amount. I'd have to check, but like let's just say if I've played at max 20 games, I probably won like 18. So I
Mm.
actually jumped. It put me bronze 5, but I'm after the first promo, like after I got placed, I got pushed to bronze 1. So
Oh, nice. All
it
right.
pushed me up 3. So yeah, it's to
Cool.
be honest, the games are pretty okay down here. Obviously, given the rank. So
Mm-hmm.
I yeah,
All right.
but we'll see.
Well, I think that is about it. I'm gonna stop the recording.